Hello everyone, Oli here, and this is my review of The Time Warrior, the first story of the 11th season of classic Doctor Who, starring John Pertwee in his final season as the Third Doctor. The Time Warrior is the 70th story overall, it's 4 parts long, and it's written by Robert Holmes. So at the end of the last season, we saw the Doctor and Una say goodbye to Jo Grant after she got engaged to Professor Clifford Jones. And now the Doctor's on his own, for now, until at least he gets a new companion in journalist Sarah Jane Smith in the final 5 stories of the Third Doctor. So the plot of the Tamara is as follows. The Doctor is called in by Una to investigate to when a number of scientists go missing from a top security institute. Following the kidnappings back in time to the Middle Ages, he is unaware that investigative journalist Sarah Jane has stolen aboard the TARDIS. As events unfold, the Doctor discovers a sinister alien intent on altering the future of humankind. So that is the plot of the Time Warrior. Warrior? What a fantastic story. John Between gains another classic. This story is very iconic and without it is one of the best light-hearted Doctor Who stories ever. The production of this story was really good, and we also get a new title sequence, and the howl around is no more as the title sequence is fully computerized with a slit time scan tunnel which would remain for the rest of the 1970s, along with the new diamond logo. And these openings, especially for the third and fourth Doctors, they're probably one of my favorite Doctor Who openings ever. The surrounding of the story was with great as well. I really liked how the Time Warrior was actually set in the Middle Ages, so it's very different. It was a very different Third Doctor story because most of his stories had either been set on Earth or somewhere in the future planet or something like that. So it was great to see everyone in medieval costumes. The interior decor of the castles was really cool. The script was very well done, and the direction by Alan Bromley was done great. And this is the first time he's actually directed for Doctor Who, and I think he did a pretty good job. I especially like the shots in from above at the end of part 2 when the Doctor is trying to escape from Iron guards. And the plot was really well written as well, in my opinion. I think, as I mentioned before, this is the only Third Doctor's pseudo historical outing, and this story was actually one of the first pseudo historical stories to have the sci-fi elements actually outweigh the historical elements. And Terrence Dicks actually wanted Robert Holmes to write a story that had a medieval cast. I think he wanted to try and make it in a pure historical in the vein of the first Doctor, but Holmes thought it was difficult, and he thought like a pure historical story would be rather boring. The pacing was really well done. Nothing really dragged in my eyes, and obviously this is the first time ever that Gallifrey has actually been mentioned on screen. When Lynx was actually questioning the Doctor, and the Doctor name drops Gallifrey. So at this point of the show, we start learning about the Doctor and the Time Lords on Gallifrey, as these aspects were pretty much shrouded in mystery for the first 10 years of Doctor Who, with various Time Lords, including the Master and the Monk, appearing here and there, plus Gallifrey itself making appearances without being named. And I would say that the Time Warrior had some very incredible moments, and I really liked the point the TARDIS that the Doctor was able to successfully land the TARDIS in the Middle Ages, and the Doctor was quite pleased with himself, only to be followed on by Sarah Jane, who he didn't actually know that full was inside the TARDIS. And I liked how Hal was able to kill Lynx by firing an arrow at Lynx's probing vent, which pretty much killed him, and then the castle had exploded because the spaceship had exploded as well. And I really enjoyed the fight sequences the story had, especially when Edward's men were attacking Iron Gods with the stink bomb the Doctor made, and I also like the episode 1 cliffhanger when Lynx removed his helmet to reveal that there was a Centaurian underneath, and I really like the part 2 cliffhanger as well when the Doctor was unable to escape from Iron God's men, and Iron was about to kill the Doctor, saying, "He who strikes Iron God dies." So that was a very I think this story has some very good moments, very memorable moments as well, and I'm quite pleased with that. Of this review, I think John Pertwee was great in this story, and of course this is his final season after deciding to leave shortly after the Green Death, mainly because of Roger Delgado's death, and I think Katie Manning's departure also played a part in it as well. And so Pertwee pretty much had to knock it out of the park, and I can really tell he really enjoyed working with Elizabeth Stade. And I remember in the DVD documentary that was in this DVD, Barry Letton mentioned that when Elizabeth Staten had actually auditioned, the John Pertwee actually approved by giving them a double thumbs up like this. This and the Doctor gets some really incredible action scenes, especially when he was dodging being a target for iron grons was basically trying to avoid the firings from the weapons from iron grons meant when the Doctor was pretty much a top moving target for them. And I also like the scene when he's a struggle with Lynx, and I also like the scene when he and Sarah Jane were disguising themselves as religious people by simply wearing a large hood. It was also very funny as well. And we also have a new companion in Sarah Jane Smith. She's portrayed by Elizabeth Sladen, and she did a fabulous job in this story. Personally, I would say that The Time Royal is definitely one of Elizabeth Sladen's best performances as Sarah Jane. Of course, Sarah Jane Smith is a journalist, and she infiltrates the top secret place that UNIT were operating in, pretending to be Auntie Lavinia, who is actually doing a lecture in America, and obviously the Doctor caught on to this, but Sarah Jane had actually smuggled onto the TARDIS, and I think the Doctor actually confronted Sarah Jane while they were in the Middle Ages, and I really love Sarah Jane's character because she's very strong-willed, very independent, wasn't afraid to speak her mind. She's very feminist and she's very brave and quite determined as well, and I think all those characteristics is one of the reasons why I believe Sarah Jane Smith is one of the greatest ever characters in Doctor Who. And she's a character that's pretty much loved by all Whovians of all generations. Those that grew up watching her and the Doctor in the 1970s, and those like myself that grew up watching her and the Sarah Jane adventures and her brief appearances in the Russell T Davies era in New Who. And I really like how Sarah Jane was able to stand up to Iron One at times. Because she wasn't afraid to speak her mind if something was wrong or the Doctor or someone said something, she would just automatically snap back at them, and that was really amazing as well. The unit family, well, only the Brigadier appears briefly in this story, and he doesn't appear afterwards. So the unit family are actually heavily featured in the next story, so fear not. Side characters of this story, I really like these set of side characters, and for instance, we had Professor Rubish to start things off. He was a scientist that worked in the top secret research establishment that focused on space hardware. He is near planned. He ended up vanishing whilst along with the other scientists, even though UNIT had been trying to protect him. I really liked his character, and I think he was very unique and very interesting, and he was quite funny as well. We also had Hal. He was an assistant for Edward of Wessex and his wife Lady Eleanor. They ordered him to kill Irongrove, but he failed because of Sarah Jane's appearance, and he does later assist the Doctor to defeat Irongrove and Lynx, and he even kills Lynx at the end. Hal, I really liked his one. I really find it funny how one of my mates, his name is also Hal. They both look rather similar, except for the long hair that this Hal has, and the short blonde hair that my mate Hal has. And this, we also had Edward of Wessex. I think he was the ruler, I believe, and he initially fought because of Sarah Jane's original assumption that the Doctor was eating Igron, but the Doctor was able to convince him otherwise. He was an okay character. We had Lady Eleanor. She was the wife of Edward. She was an okay character, but to be fair, I only recognized her because she plays Doc Cotton in EastEnders. And we also had Blood Axe. He was Ironground's second in command, and he obviously helped Ironground with Lynx, and he was an interesting side character slash side villain. So now that we've spoken about the good guys, let's talk about the villains. First off, we have Ironground. He was a robber baron that aided the castle he operated at, and he later killed the occupants of the castle. He later bargains with Lynx to hide his crashed spaceship in return for him aiding him with weapons that would actually pretty much alter the course of human history. Ironground later started resenting Lynx after Lynx started insulting him countless occasions and was actually hating Edward because of his luxurious life. Ironground was an amazing villain, and without a doubt one of the more memorable villains of the John Pertwee era. He was very hammy in a very good way, so I think David Decker did an amazing job playing Ironground. He's definitely a very interesting villain. And we also have Lynx, the first ever Centauran of Doctor Who. He had to make an emergency landing on Earth when his ship was attacked by the Rootons, who would make an appearance in season 15. Lynx formed an alliance with Ironground so he can find shelter in the castle in exchange for Ironground helping Lynx to attack Edward. Lynx was also responsible for kidnapping the 20th century scientists, including Rubish, so they can fix a spaceship, and Lynx actually put them all in a dangerous hypnosis to the extent that they were actually starting to collapse of exhaustion. Lynx was a great villain. He defined what it definitely meant to have been a Sontaran, and I think Kevin Lindsay did a very good job, and I'm happy that we do see the Centaurans again. We do see the Centaurans again in the Centaurian experiment in the following season. I don't have any specific major thoughts, but I do wonder what happened to Iron crooks when his castle blew up. Did they die because they chose to remain oblivious to the antics that was going on, or were they able to escape in time because of a warning or something? So to conclude, the Time Warrior is introduced new elements that will make Doctor Who enjoyable for the rest of the 1970s. From an iconic companion, iconic enemies, iconic storytelling, and it's an awesome way to kick off Jumper 2's final season. And I would actually make a bold statement in saying that the Time Warrior is voted as one of the best, yes, if not the best, Sontaran stories of Doctor Who. So I would give the Time Warrior a perfect 10 out of 10. So my next review will be The Invasion of the Dinosaurs, a story I'm not very fond of, and reasons why will be explained in that review, so please look out for that. Thank you for watching this review. Please let me know what you thought of this review and the Time Warrior itself. Please subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so already. Feel free to join my Discord server, and it's in the description below. Until then, see you guys later.